There is a moment, just before midnight, when the world seems to hold its breath. The sky is a black ocean, the stars scattered like the bones of forgotten gods, and the moon pale, watchful, eternal hangs above us all. In that silence, a question rises from the depths of human memory. What would you surrender to keep the darkness from swallowing everything you love? What would you offer if the fate of the world hung by a thread of silver light? Throughout history, the moon has been more than a distant sphere. It is a witness to our fears, a mirror for our longing, a silent judge to our most desperate bargains. When its face turns red, when it bleeds across the sky, something ancient stirs in the human heart, a terror that order is fragile, that the world can unravel, that the night might never end. In those hours, the line between myth and reality blurs. Blood is spilled, not for vengeance or conquest, but as a plea to the heavens. Let the moon return, let the world endure. Tonight, we descend into the shadows of this ritual ceremony, older than memory, where blood is offered to the moon. This is not a tale of superstition, but a journey into the heart of human fear and hope. As the story unfolds, ask yourself, what would you give if you believed the world depended on it? What darkness would you face, and what would you sacrifice to keep the moon from falling? Beneath the ancient sky, the moon was not a lifeless stone, but a living presence, goddess, guardian, and judge. In the cradle of civilization, the people of Sumer gazed upward, their eyes filled with awe and dread. The moon was Sin, the silent keeper of time, the one who watched as empires rose and fell. Yet even Sin was vulnerable. When the moon's light faded, when it turned crimson and seemed to bleed, the world trembled. The priests whispered of demons and dragons, of cosmic battles hidden from mortal eyes. The moon's wound was a wound in the world itself. In the shadowed temples of yore, the high priests gathered by torchlight. Their chants rose like smoke, curling through the darkness. At the altar, a lamb, sometimes a child, was laid upon the stone. The blade flashed, the blood spilled, and the earth drank deep. This was not mere violence, but a sacred exchange. Life for light, blood for the moon. The ritual was a plea, a desperate hope that sacrifice could heal the sky and restore the order of things. Far to the west, in the jungles of Mesoamerica, the Maya watched the moon with equal reverence and terror. Their legend spoke of Ixchel, the moon goddess, whose blood was the source of all creation and destruction. When the moon darkened, the priests ascended the stone steps, obsidian knives gleaming in the moonlight. Hearts were torn from chests, blood poured down the temple walls, and the people watched in silence. The ritual was a promise. As long as we give, the moon will return. But beneath every promise lies a question: what if the blood is not enough? The fear of a wounded moon is not bound by borders. In the frozen forests of the north, the Norse spoke of monstrous wolves haughty and sculpturing the moon across the sky. When the moon vanished during an eclipse, the people gathered, beating drums and raising their voices, hoping to frighten the beasts away. The ritual was not just noise, but a battle cry against chaos, a refusal to let the world slip into darkness. In the villages of China, the dragon Tionggu was said to devour the moon. Fires blazed, pots clanged, and offerings of blood and grain were made to appease the celestial predator. The ritual was both a defense and a surrender, a recognition that some forces could only be bargained with, never defeated. In the heart of Africa, the Batamaliba people of Togo and Benin saw a lunar eclipse as a sign of conflict between the sun and the moon. To heal the rift, they settled their own disputes, offered sacrifices, and prayed for harmony. The ritual was a mirror, reflecting the belief that cosmic order depended on human action, that peace in the heavens required peace on earth. Across continents and centuries, the same pattern emerges. The moon is wounded, the people are afraid, and blood becomes the bridge between worlds. The ritual is not just a superstition, it is a map of the human mind, a testament to our longing for order, our terror of chaos, and our willingness to pay any price to keep the darkness at bay. But what happens when the ritual fails? What if the blood is never enough? As the centuries turned, the rituals grew more elaborate, more desperate. In the shadow of the Aztec pyramids, the priests believed that the sun and moon demanded constant nourishment. The Templo Mayor in Tenochtitlan was stained with the blood of thousands, each sacrifice a heartbeat in the cosmic struggle. The Aztecs saw themselves as guardians of the universe, their rituals the only barrier against oblivion. When the moon turned red, the city held its breath. The priests climbed the steps, obsidian blades in hand, and the people watched, knowing that their fate hung in the balance. The blood for the moon was not just an ancient memory. In 1504, Christopher Columbus, stranded in Jamaica, faced starvation and hostility. The local Arawak people, wary of the strangers, withheld food. Columbus, armed with knowledge of an impending lunar eclipse, warned that his god would make the moon disappear as punishment. When the moon turned blood-red, panic swept through the village. The Arawaks begged Columbus to restore it. He promised to intercede, and as the eclipse ended, the people brought him food and supplies. The ritual had become a weapon, a tool of manipulation, a way to control the hearts and minds of others. In Europe, the fear of the moon's blood lingered in the shadows of the witch trials. Women accused of witchcraft were said to draw down the moon, to steal its power, to curse crops and children. The blood spilled in the name of the moon was not always voluntary. In the dungeons of the Inquisition, the line between ritual and execution blurred. The moon became a symbol of the unknown, the dangerous, the feminine, the other. And always, the question remained, how much blood is enough to keep the darkness at bay? Even in the modern era, the echoes of the ritual persist. In 1969, as Neil Armstrong set foot on the lunar surface, millions watched in awe and fear. The moon, once a goddess, now a barren rock, but the old anxieties remained. What if we anger the moon? What if we awaken something ancient, something hungry? The Apollo astronauts left behind a plaque, a message of peace. But in the silence of the lunar night, the old fears still whisper, what price have we paid, and what price is yet to come? The blood for the moon has not vanished, simply changed its mask. In the flickering light of cinema screens, the moon is still a harbinger of terror. Werewolves howl at its rising, their transformations a metaphor for the beast within. In horror films, the blood moon signals apocalypse, a night when the dead walk and the living tremble. The ritual survives in new forms: midnight sex, urban legends, viral internet challenges. The moon is no longer a goddess, but a symbol of the unknown, the uncontrollable, the wildness that lurks beneath the surface of civilization. In literature, the moon is a mirror for madness and longing. Shakespeare's lovers and lunatics are ruled by its phases. In modern fantasy, the blood moon is a portal, a threshold between worlds. Video games and graphic novels reimagine the ancient ritual as a quest, a battle, a sacrifice. The old fear is dressed in new clothes, but its heart remains unchanged. The terror that something precious must be lost, that order is always on the edge of collapse. Even in science, the blood moon, now known as a lunar eclipse, draws crowds and headlines. We gather to watch, to photograph, to share the moment on social media. But beneath the hashtags and filters, the old awe remains. We are still children beneath the sky, watching the moon bleed, wondering what it means, and what it demands of us. The ritual is not dead. It has simply moved into the shadows of our dreams, our stories, our screens. But what does it mean, this hunger for blood, this longing for the moon? The blood for the moon is more than a ritual, it is a map of the human soul. The moon, cold and distant, is the face of the unknown, the other, the part of ourselves we cannot control. Its cycles mirror our own: birth, growth, decay, death, and rebirth. When the moon is wounded, we see our own vulnerability, our own fear of loss and change. The ritual is a way to make sense of chaos, to impose order on the uncontrollable, to believe that our actions matter in the face of cosmic indifference. But the blood is not just a sacrifice. It is a symbol of connection. To spill blood for the moon is to acknowledge our dependence on forces beyond our understanding. It is an act of humility, a recognition that we are not the masters of the universe, but its children, fragile and afraid. The ritual is a plea for mercy, a hope that our suffering has meaning, that our pain can buy us another day of light. At its core, the blood for the moon is a story about fear, the fear of the unknown, the fear of loss, the fear that the world is not as safe or as stable as we pretend. It is a story about the lengths we will go to protect what we love, to hold back the darkness, to keep the moon shining in the sky. And it is a story about the cost of that protection, the blood we spill, the innocence we lose, the shadows we invite into our hearts. But what if the ritual is not just about fear? What if it is also about hope, the hope that we can change our fate, that we can bargain with the universe, that our actions matter, even in the face of the infinite? The blood for the moon is a paradox, a symbol of both our power and our helplessness, our terror and our longing, our darkness and our light. What does it say about us that we are willing to bleed for the moon? And so, the question returns, echoing through the corridors of time. What would you give to keep the darkness at bay? The most dangerous ritual in history is not just a story of blood and moonlight. It is a story of us, of the human heart, of the endless dance between fear and hope. We are the children of the night, the dreamers beneath the bleeding moon, forever searching for meaning in the face of the unknown. Ritual endures because the fear endures. We still look to the sky and wonder if the order of things can be trusted, if the moon will return, if the world will hold. We still bargain with fate, with gods, with ourselves, offering what we can, hoping it will be enough. The blood for the moon is a reminder that we are fragile, that the world is fragile, that every cycle is a gift, every dawn a miracle. But perhaps the true danger is not in the ritual itself, but in what it reveals about us: the hunger for control, the terror of chaos, the willingness to sacrifice for a glimpse of certainty. The moon will rise and fall, the blood will flow, the stories will be told and retold, and we, the watchers, the dreamers, the sacrificers, will always wonder, is it enough? Have we done enough? Or is the darkness always waiting, just beyond the edge of the light? As you leave this story, let the question linger in your mind. What would you give if you believed the world depended on it? What darkness would you face? And what would you offer to keep the moon from falling? Thank you for walking this path through myth, memory, and meaning. If this story moved you, if it made you question, wonder, or reflect, please subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and join our community. Together, we can keep the light burning, even in the darkest night. Until next time, watch the moon and remember the price we pay to keep it shining.